Martí Cifuentes. Hi everyone, welcome back to Hoopsa. QPR drew 1-1 on the road at Rotherham on Saturday in Martí Cifuentes' first match in charge of the R's. Let's talk about the result. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments. So it's a bit shocking to be talking about a relegation 6-pointer only 14 matches into the championship season, but with Rotherham just 1 place and 1 point ahead of QPR, albeit with a game in hand, this was always going to be a huge fixture for both sides. Now Rotherham have been struggling for wins as much as QPR, with just 2 wins, 3 draws and 8 losses this season so far. In fact, they'd won just 1 of their last 8, a 2-0 win versus Coventry. Matt Taylor of course kept the side from relegation last season, but it looks like it's going to be another long season for the Millers this year. Last time out they lost 2-0 to Sheffield Wednesday, giving Danny Röhl his first win of the season. Now QPR have had an incredibly eventful week going into this match, even by QPR standards. First of all, Loftus Road was rebranded Madtrade Loftus Road. Owner Ruben Nanalingam of course sits on the board of Madtrade, and many have suspected that this is the cash injection that was needed in order to be able to sack Gareth Ainsworth. Now shortly after that announcement, QPR of course played Leicester at home, a 2-1 loss which extended QPR's winless run at home to now just 1 win in more than a year. Gareth Ainsworth of course was sacked later that evening, and reports immediately followed that Neil Warnock was being lined up for his 3rd spell at the club. But that was not the truth, because Martí Cifuentes was unveiled as manager, joining from Hammarby. The excitement didn't stop there though, with Amit Bhatia stepping down as chairman the following day, making Lee Hughes both chairman and CEO of the club. South Africa Road has also been renamed the Bhatia Stand as a symbol of the family's long-term commitment to the club. Now joining midweek, Cifuentes had just 2.5 days in training with the side, and he was already pretty limited in his options, with Fox and Jake Clark-Salter both unavailable through injury, and Dazelle and Colback unavailable through suspension. Despite that, he made 5 changes to the starting lineup from the Leicester match. He immediately switched from a 5-3-2 to a 4-3-3, and I did virtually pick the same lineup, albeit not knowing who the midfielder was going to be the day before. Cook and Dunn returned at centre-back, with Kakai dropped to the bench. Cifuentes, I'm a fan already. Dixon Bonner came in for Dazelle, who obviously was unavailable because of his red card against Leicester. So Dixon Bonner was set to make his full championship debut alongside Field in the centre, and Chris Willock returning from his Ainsworth-induced exile. Paul Smith also returned to the team on the right wing, and Chair sat on the other, with Lyndon Dykes up top. So let's talk about the first half. Now let's start off by saying, despite only having 2.5 days in training, there was a drastic, noticeable improvement in our play from the get-go. I'm not saying we were great, would I even use the word good just yet, but there were moments of quality throughout this half. We had a game plan, we actually wanted to keep the ball and use it, and players were making forward runs off of the ball. Shockingly, we even tried to score some goals. A low benchmark, I know. The opening minutes were as scrappy as you would expect for 2 teams at the foot of the table, but I must say QPR were pretty dominant in the opening spells of the match. We've often struggled in a back 4 this season, with Ainsworth opting to play a back 5 in most of our fixtures, but this change in shape immediately suited Reggie Cannon and Powell as our fullbacks. Hoofball was nowhere to be seen inside, playing out from Begovic to either Cannon or Powell, and they were instrumental in building up the play and bringing the ball up the pitch. Powell was able to make marauding, overlapping runs alongside Elias Chair, something we've barely seen him do since Michael Beale left the club. And Cannon looked pretty comfortable on the other side as well, at one point unleashing a beautiful diagonal ball over to Chair, which nestled comfortably at his feet in a way that Johan Barbe would have been incredibly jealous of. The plan very much seemed to be to get the ball to Chair in dangerous spaces and let him work his magic. And it threatened to work a couple of times in the first half, with the Moroccan cutting in on the edge of the box and having a couple of shots go narrowly wide. They didn't go in, but they were definitely the closest he'd come to opening his championship account this season. Now, I'm not totally kidding myself. The football was definitely an improvement over what we had endured in the season so far, but we weren't without our issues. There are 2 key problems in this side. We're very weak and naive at the back, and we're toothless up front. Rotherham of course had their own run of chances in the first half, including a narrowly wide shot from Christ Teehee after Cafu's free kick, and a curled shot inside the box from Fred Onyedinma, forcing a great reactive save from Begovic. Cook and Dunn of course both returning to the side, one from injury, one from suspension. Both looked exposed at times, but we did manage to make it to half-time without conceding. And to touch on our toothlessness up front, a return to a football system very similar to Mick Beale's time at the club has immediately brought back a very similar learning, thing, which is that Lyndon Dykes does not fit into this puzzle. He was playing very deep, I imagine at Cifuentes' instruction, but this made him unavailable in the box when the ball turned over. The ball wouldn't stick to him, his hold-up play was iffy, and I suspect that someone more nimble, more pacey, more powerful, and better with the ball at his feet is going to be much more suited to this kind of system. Bill himself had started to experiment with Tyler Roberts and Chris Willock in the number 9 position, so it's going to be interesting to see what Martí tries, especially with far less options at his disposal. Now, we did weather the storm, and 5 minutes into the second half we were rewarded with the first goal of the Martí Cifuentes era. And unsurprisingly, this was very reminiscent of Bill's time at the club, with Willock, Powell and Chair linking up on that left wing. Powell cut the ball back onto the edge of the box for Elias Chair, who turned past his marker and released a sailing Chair rocket of old into the top right corner. An absolute goal of beauty, and one very reminiscent of a certain other Moroccan hero. I keep going back to Bill, but many of us have said, I've certainly said on this channel, the way to get us playing again is to go back to the system that we last played any good football under, which was under Mick Bill. He made us punch above our weight by getting the likes of Chair and Willock, our most dangerous players, into dangerous spaces by exploiting those triangles, using the fullbacks, and that's exactly what Cifuentes did against Rotherham. QPR could have gone 2 up shortly after when Dixon Bonner picked up Cannon's squared ball into the box. He unfortunately blasted at the keeper, who parried it onto the post. Seconds later we could have gone 2-0 up again, with Chair wasting his chance for a brace, unable to turn in a free ball at the back post from Paul Smith's cross. Now, going back to Dixon Bonner, I have to say I think he made a very capable full debut for Rangers. He broke up play often in the first half, he linked up at that midfield well, and he nearly had a goal to top it off, so I hope that we see more of him even when Colback and Dazelle come back from suspension. Now, of course, we couldn't afford to get too carried away, and neither could the Rangers players, because we were soon reminded of our defensive frailties when Ribeiro Diaz was left unattended in the box and unleashed a very narrowly wide header. And within 7 minutes of Marty's first substitution, Taylor Richards for Paul Smith. Yes, he is still with us. The ball was in the back of the net. Now, I mentioned Taylor Richards here because it was his rather lax header into our own half, into complete no man's land, that led to Samfield wiping out substitute Georgie Kelly, which led to the free kick that would gift Rotherham an equalizer. Now, Richards may have something to offer under Cifuentes, but unfortunately we're still yet to see it. His work rate and movement off of the ball is poor, and it's this kind of inexplicable decision making and his prolonged absences that make this signing even more questionable by the day. In fact, he has previous on this, because it was in this exact fixture last season when he kneeled down to tie his laces while the ball was in play and Rotherham just played the ball around him while they were 2 up. Now, you know how this story goes already. QPR 1-0 up in a crucial relegation tie and facing a free kick in the 70th minute. Rotherham left back Bramall put an excellent curling ball into the box from the free kick, which snuck around to Georgie Kelly at the far post, who got the better of Samfield and rifled the ball into the top of the net. Now, we should have never ever conceded that free kick in the first place, but I must say it was an excellent goal and one that was very hard to defend. In search of a winner, 10 minutes later Cifuentes would make a double substitution, with Sinclair Armstrong coming on for Chris Willock and Albert Adoma coming on for Lyndon Dykes. But expectedly, it was Rotherham who went searching first. Onyedinma had his shot blocked by Samfield in the box, and then a Dolphin struck the post on the following corner. QPR countered from the aftermath of that corner though, with Chair picking up the ball and finding Willock on the run. Unfortunately, he was unable to get his shot off with 2 defenders and the keeper to beat. How sweet that would have been, Chair and Willock being back on the score sheet together. Now, just 10 minutes after coming onto the pitch, Albert Adoma decided to remind Martí of the frailties of this squad, going down injured, and Charlie Kelman soon came on a sub for a sub. And within minutes, Kelman could have been rewarded with the winner. Chair turned his marker from a throw-in, darted into the box and squared the ball to Kelman, but his limp effort to poke the ball into the net was stopped by Victor Johansson, who I must say had an excellent afternoon on all accounts. Field's weak follow-up on the edge of the box, meanwhile, was unable to test him at all. Soon after, the final whistle would be blown, marking the end of Marty's first 90 minutes in charge of the side. Now, depending on your outlook in life, you can look at this result in 2 ways. On one hand, we still lacked the goal scoring quality to take the win. In fact, we haven't scored more than 1 goal since Borough away on the 2nd of September. On the other hand, you could say that we could feel a little bit sorry for ourselves that we didn't leave with the win. We hit the post, we missed practically 2 sitters, and like it or not, that is the closest we have come in weeks to winning a match. Rotherham themselves, despite having as few wins as QPR, have actually lost only once at home this season, so it's always going to be tricky to come away with a win. But at times, the football was borderline enjoyable, and it's been hard to say that this this season. Cifuentes set us up to keep the ball. In fact, we had more than double the amount of passes than we did against Leicester last weekend. He put our best players on the pitch, we attacked, and we tried to win the game. Even watching his post-match interview, which I must admit I had long stopped doing under Ainsworth, he said two things that stood out to me. The first was that he wasn't happy with simply drawing the match. That's a winning mentality, and that's exactly the right response to this result. The second was that he wasn't pleased at the suggestion that we should be relieved to have stopped the run of losses with a draw. We must demand more from these players. And again, that might be a low benchmark, but it's incredibly refreshing to hear a manager say that, rather than suggesting that we're these kind of underdogs that should be grateful that we can even play against these teams. This is incredibly early doors, of course, for Cifuentes, and there are going to be many more lows to come with the highs. But if he can get us as fans enjoying the football again, looking forward to go and watch Rangers, then that's as good a start as any. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually looking forward to going to Loftus Road on Saturday, and hopefully Marty can bring us a home win for the first time since March. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any thoughts yourself, let me know in the comments, and if you've enjoyed the video, please do subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!